Last week, for the first time in the history of Pennsylvania, gasoline prices went higher than $3 a gallon. So how does that affect you and your family? And where does all that money go anyway? We will answer those questions and many more right here on The Smart Consumer. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Smart Consumer. My name is Rick Hicks from the law firm of Anderson, Galata & Hicks, and today we're talking about gasoline prices. I know all of you know that gasoline prices have hit a record high all across Pennsylvania, and today we're going to spend some time really talking about how that impacts on your family and where the money goes. And you know, we here at The Smart Consumer really like to keep it real, so that's what we're going to do today. You think that's funny, huh?
Go ahead.
And to help us keep it real, I have brought somebody who I know real well to join me in this dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to my wife, Phyllis Hicks. Welcome to The Smart Consumer.
Thanks for inviting me.
And actually, this is a little bit unusual, but because we like to keep it real, we have had some real dialogue and some real issues related to gasoline prices in our household. And I'm not sure about your household, but in my household, Phyllis tends to be the keeper of the purse strings. So she has some strong opinions about these things, and she's asked me some questions that I have done the research to find the answers to. So I don't just want to share the answers with her, I will share them with all of us.
Okay.
But let me ask a couple of questions of you first, Phyllis.
All right.
Why do you care about gas prices?
Because it affects my bottom line, affects my budget, how much money I have to be able to go visit my children and buy the things that I work hard to have for myself. At this point in my life, there are things I like to have, and I like to be able to spend my money the way I want to.
All right, but how does it affect your bottom line?
Well, it's cutting into it pretty deeply. I mean, I feel like they've literally got me over a barrel, and I'm laughing about it, but I don't think it's funny at all.
I mean, you have a pretty good job, though, right?
And yes, I'm blessed to have a pretty good job, but there are a lot of people who don't have the kind of job that I do and who aren't able to make the kind of money that I make, and they've got to pay the same price at the pump that I do.
Have you been talking about this with our neighbors?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a neighbor that lives on a fixed income, for example, who's selling her car. Her husband died, and she just can't afford to put gas in the car. We have another neighbor that's on a budget, and it's cutting a deep line into their budget. They have 2 small children, and she's a stay-at-home mom.
All right, so let's talk about what gas prices you're actually paying.
Way too much.
When was the last time you filled up the gas tank?
Filled up the gas tank on Tuesday, and it was $3.19.
$3.19 a gallon.
That's right.
All right, and what are you finding out there today?
Well, this morning when I left for work, it was $2.99 on one side of the street and $3.19 on the other side of the street.
Okay.
Which I don't understand that. How can there be a 20-cent difference?
Oh, there are lots of reasons why there's a 20-cent difference. And actually, you asked me some specific questions. You asked me to find out exactly where the money goes. So I did what I could to do that. So what do you want to know about gas prices?
Well, I want to know who's getting the money that I pay. When I pump my gas at $3.19 a gallon, where does that money go? How does it break down?
Okay, well, I have learned that there are many different players, many different people who have their hand in the cookie jar when it comes to the money that we pay for gas. And those players could be in this country, or they could be in another country. They could be government, or they could be private individuals. But there are different people who get pennies out of the $3.19 a gallon that we pay. And those include their costs for crude oil prices, their cost associated with taxes, their cost associated with distribution, transportation, and marketing, and their cost associated with the profits that they make, and their refinery costs too. So each one of those things is a part of that $3.19 a gallon that we pay. Does that satisfy you?
No. I want to know more. I want to know exactly how it breaks down and who gets what.
All right, what do you want to know?
Well, I want to know where does our money actually go?
All right.
Who actually gets this money that I'm putting on my credit card or paying at the pump?
Let's take them one at a time. Crude oil costs. Crude oil costs are the cost for the gas that comes out of the ground, the way it comes out of the ground, before they put any whistles and bells on it and refine it in any way. And the cost of crude oil for a barrel of crude oil actually represents about 43% of the total price that we pay for a gallon of gas. So a barrel of crude oil has about 42 gallons of gas in it. So one barrel of crude oil.
Crude oil is 42 gallons.
42 gallons of gas comes out of one barrel of crude oil.
Okay.
And the crude oil price represents about 43% of the total price that we pay. Now, there's a graph that we will be able to show on the screen.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've learned about crude oil is that a lot of it comes from other countries.
Yeah.
The OPEC nations, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries,
Right.
the OPEC nations actually produce a great deal of the crude oil that we use here in the United States.
Yes.
There are 11 countries that make up the OPEC nations. We in the United States produce a lot of crude oil ourselves, and the cost of one barrel of crude oil has gone from about $12.70 in 1978 to $59.95 last week. In fact, as recently as the beginning of this year, in January of 2005, a barrel of crude oil cost an average of $35. So between January and last week, a barrel of crude oil, it's got 42 gallons of gas in it,
Right.
has almost doubled in cost. So crude oil represents 43% of that price we pay for a gallon of gas. And because the price of crude oil keeps going up,
Okay.
the price of gasoline keeps going up. So we'll put that on the graph so that we can show you exactly what contribution crude oil makes to the total cost of gas.
Okay. 43%.
43% is crude oil.
$3.19, for example.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
The other thing that I mentioned is included in there is taxes.
Can't get away.
It's not just plain old taxes. There are federal taxes, state taxes, local taxes, and taxes make up about 31% of that $3.19. So we got two of the biggest components in there. Crude oil at 43%, taxes at 31%, and these
31%.
These are the two biggest pieces of the pie.
So a third of it. So about for every dollar, when I fill up, about $1 is going just to taxes?
We'll break the numbers down in great detail. In fact, we're going to take just a break to recognize our sponsors, and then I'll give you the other two pieces of the pie, and we'll put it in the context of that $3.19 so you can see it.
Wow.
Keeping it real. Stay with us. We'll be right back with The Smart Consumer.